Hey y'all boys, before the video start, bro, let's get 5 likes, bro. That's it, bro. Just 5. If you click on the video, just click like, bro. It's not that hard, bro. 5 likes, bro. Let's go. Hey y'all boys, before the video start, bro, let's get 5 likes, bro. That's it, bro. Just 5. If you click on the video, just click like, bro. It's not that hard, bro. 5 likes, bro. Let's go. Hey y'all boys, before the video start, bro, let's get 5 likes, bro. That's it, bro. Just 5. If you click on the video, just click like, bro. It's not that hard, bro. 5 likes, bro. Let's go. Yo, chat, before the video starts, man, hit that like and subscribe button, bro. Let's get 5 likes in the videos. We out. Yo, chat, before the video starts, man. Good chat. We got Ray Williams Johnson. He killed a guy and wrote a novel about it. I know y'all seen him on TikTok, bro.
Brutally unalives a man, gets away with it, and then publishes a novel about it. So the guy, his name's Christian. He's from Poland. He's an average guy. He runs a cleaning business. But one day, the worst happens. His life starts falling apart. His business is failing, and so he has to file for bankruptcy. He's drinking a lot. He's cheating on his wife. Now, his wife is this woman, Stasha. And pretty quickly, Stasha decides all this drinking and cheating, it's too much for her. And she and Christian officially separate.
We're done.
Now, this separation really gets to Christian. He doesn't take it well. He's depressed and he wants her back. He's thinking about her all the time and he starts obsessing over her. And eventually, he decides to hire a private investigator to start following her to see what she's up to. Yeah, because that's gonna win her back. But hiring that private investigator is how he finds out about this guy, Dariusz. And Dariusz is this local man who runs an advertising business. He's a normal guy and he has no connection to Christian. But one night, Dariusz is out at a nightclub, and that is when he meets Stasha. And he and Stasha, they hit it off, and eventually they agree to go on a date. And so later, they go out on this date, and nothing materializes from the date. They don't go out again after that. Except the private investigator Christian hired is still following Stasia around. And he reports back to Christian like, hey, you know, she went out on a date with this guy Dariusz. And of course, Christian is pissed. And one night, he gets all drunk and he goes over to Stasia's house to confront her, and boom, he breaks her front door down and he's screaming at her and he hits her, and he confesses that he hired a private investigator to follow her, and that's how he found out that she went out on a date with this Dariusz guy. In fact, he's so mad, eventually, after this, Christian comes up with a plan to get rid of Dariusz for good. And one morning, Christian goes to a payphone near Dariusz's office, and he calls the office pretending to be a client who wants to buy advertising. And he's like, look, I need to speak to Dariusz right now, otherwise you'll lose my business. So they give him Dariusz's cell number, and he calls the cell number, and he sets up a meeting with Dariusz later that day. So then later, Christian and Dariusz meet up, and we don't know exactly how their conversation went, but somehow Christian gets Dariusz into a car with him and he drives him to an unknown location. Now, this next part is actually pieced together by forensic evidence because there were no witnesses to what happened. But here's what we know.
Okay.
While at this unknown location, Christian suddenly gets violent with Dariusz, and he beats him up, and he ties him up, and he tortures him, and he holds him hostage for a few days. He doesn't give him food or anything. Then, when he's done with him, he takes Dariusz to a local river, and he throws him in. And Dariusz is too weak to swim, and unfortunately, he drowns.
Dang.
Then Christian takes Dariusz's cell phone, goes on the internet to an auction site, kind of like eBay, and he sells it to make a little money. Around 4 weeks later, some fishermen are out fishing in that river, and they see something floating by the shore that kind of looks like a body, because it is a body, Dariusz's body. So they call police. Now, immediately, police look into this, because, you know, a body floating in the river, this is obviously a murder. But unfortunately, after investigating, they find very little. And after 6 months, they still have no real leads, and the case gets dropped. Meanwhile, Christian, he's just vibing. He's like, sweet, no one suspects it was me, because bro just got away with murder. And then, this crazy motherfucker starts writing a crime novel about all this. And this crime novel is about a fictional character named Chris B, who brutally murders someone in a similar way that he had murdered Dariush. And a lot of the details about Chris B's life are similar to the details of Christian's life. And Chris B, in the novel, even sells the murder weapon on an online auction site just like Christian did with Dariush's phone. So yeah, this fictional novel appears to be based on the actual murder that he committed. Crazy. And to make it worse, then the book actually gets published. Like some publisher read this and was like, yeah, this is great. Now, at the end of the day, he only sells a couple thousand copies, so it's not a huge success, but still, Christian got away with murder and he wrote a frickin' book about it, and no one has connected him to the crime. Until 3 years later, after the murder, a local detective is looking into cold cases, and he starts working on this one to see if he can find anything new. And detective suddenly realizes Dariush, he would have had his cell phone on him, like everyone always has their cell phone on them. But when they found the body, they never found his phone. So detective gets a hold of the serial number for that phone, and he finds a way to track it. And he discovers that after the murder, it had been sold on an internet auction site. And the person who sold it, their username was Chris B, like the character in Christian's novel. So of course, they trace the account back to Christian. So detective, he investigates this Christian guy he's never heard of, and he deep dives into his life, and that's when he finds out about the crime novel he wrote. So he and a bunch of other police officers, they scour through every chapter of that novel looking for any details that might lead them to connect Christian to the crime. And eventually, boom, he's a suspect, and they bring him in for questioning. But they don't get much information out of him, and they have to let him go. Oh, but it's not over, because then they get another break in the case. Apparently, when Christian called Dariush's office that day from the payphone, he used a phone card. I guess it was one of those prepaid ones that some countries use. And so detectives discovered that a phone card was used, and whoever used that phone card that day also made other calls. Calls to Christian's parents, Christian's girlfriend, to Christian's friends. So obviously it was Christian using the phone card, because obviously he's the frickin' killer.
Idiot,
but this phone card isn't what gets him busted. Here's what gets him busted. Remember Stasia? Well, up to this point, Stasia hasn't been super cooperative with police. Like, she doesn't really want to talk to them. They've tried to talk to her several times, but she's just one of those people who doesn't trust them. Regardless, they try speaking with her one last time. And this last time, they show her parts of Christian's novel. Specifically, they show her parts of the book with this character named Sonia. And Sonia, in the novel, appears to be based on Stasia. And this little factoid freaks Stasia the fuck out. She's like, this weirdo Christian was writing crime novels about me? And so, kaboom, she finally agrees to talk, and she tells police everything. That one night she went out on a date with Dariush, and how Christian found out about it, and he tracked her down, and he broke her door down, he got violent, and he admitted that he hired a private investigator to follow her, and that then that private investigator saw her with Dariush, and that Christian was all butthurt and super jealous of him. And that is all the info police needed, and so then, bam, they go and arrest Christian. And I don't have a mugshot of him, but here he is in real life. This is actually him sitting in court after he got busted. And like, notice he's got like kind of a little smile on his face.
Yeah, he don't care.
What is he smiling about, creepy bastard? And so he's charged with murdering Dariush, and he's found guilty, and he's sentenced to 25 years.
Are you serious right now?
And so, just to be clear, if he had never written that novel loosely based on his crimes, then he probably would have gotten away with it. And that is wild to think about.
He only got 25 years though, so he got away with it for real. Every story is so he can cheat when she dates. It's a problem. Got it. Poor dirty dude died because he went on a date. Closer to be self-reporting, like, bro. Alright, y'all boys, like and subscribe, bro. Hey, y'all boys, before the video was good, YouTube, what's good, chat? We got Ray Williams. This selfie won't destroy her life.
So this girl is about to murder her best friend and get busted for it because of a selfie.
What?
Now the girl, her name's Cheyenne, and she's 21, she lives in Saskatoon in Canada, and she has this friend Brittany. And Brittany's 18, and they met at school, and they hang out, and they party together, and pretty soon, they become best friends. Now, Brittany, she's a pretty good kid. She's in high school, but she works hard. She works 2 jobs. She got big dreams. She wants to go to college and work in the hospitality business one day. While Cheyenne, on the other hand, she's kind of a turd. She apparently already has over 50 convictions for things like shoplifting, stuff like that. And she's allegedly also a big fan of some of the harder drugs that people like to do. And most people in Brittany's life think that Cheyenne is bad news. Regardless, Brittany defends her friend. She sticks up for her. She's like, no, she's a good person. You don't know her. But one night, their friendship, it goes completely wrong. Because Brittany and Cheyenne, they make plans to go out and do a little drinking, which they do often enough. So they get ready, their hair and their makeup or whatever, and once they're good to go, they take a selfie together. This selfie. There's Brittany here, and Cheyenne is right here. And like immediately, Brittany posts it on her Facebook page. And then they leave, and they end up at a bar. And they do some drinking there, and they have a good time. Then they end up at a house party, and they do some drinking there, and they also do some drugs, because I guess they're going a little hard tonight, but whatever. They're having a good time.
Kids.
Then, around 4:30 in the morning, they've been out all night at this point, getting wasted. And they end up at McDonald's. And they're both messed up and a little belligerent, stumbling around, and they're in the parking lot. And I guess maybe Cheyenne is trying to call someone she shouldn't. Like, I don't know, we don't really have the details of this part. But for some reason, Brittany decides to take Cheyenne's phone away from her. Maybe she was just being playful, maybe it was just a joke, maybe she was being mean. Again, we don't know the details, but we do know that she swipes her phone from her. And Cheyenne doesn't like this one bit, and she is pissed. How's she gonna take my phone from me? So they start getting into it and arguing, and this argument gets heated. In fact, it gets so heated that eventually Cheyenne just snaps. And pow, she hits Brittany, and then pow, she hits her again, and again, and again, and she just overpowers her. And then, allegedly, while Brittany's down, Cheyenne takes off this braided black belt that she's wearing, and she wraps it around Brittany's neck, and she starts strangling her, and no matter how hard Brittany fights, Cheyenne just won't let go
she's a nuisance.
And when she finally stops, Brittany is no longer
in front of the mic,
and she won't wake up. And Cheyenne, she panics because, like, her friend might be dead. And I guess at that point, she puts lifeless Brittany in the car, and then she gets in and she hauls ass out of there. Now, at this point, she could drive her friend to the hospital to get her medical attention. But that's not what she does. Instead, she drives over to her aunt's house. And I guess she goes over to her aunt, and she's still totally wasted, by the way. She goes to her aunt, and she's like, I beat up my friend, and I choked her out, and now she's not waking up for some reason. And Aunt, she looks in the car, and she can see Brittany looking all beat up and slumped over against the window. And Aunt wants no part of this. She's like, nah, you need to leave. Which, I don't blame her. Like, yeah, you bring an unconscious body to my house? Like, nah, you need to get the f*** out. But anyway, so Cheyenne leaves.
lady, I ain't
here is another point where Cheyenne could drive her friend to the hospital and get her medical attention, but again, that's not what she does. Instead, she drives out near a landfill on the edge of town, and she dumps Brittany by the side of the road, and she just leaves her there. And then I guess she goes home and just passes out. The next day, Cheyenne wakes up, and she claims she doesn't remember what happened the night before, and that it's a total blackout. Sure, Cheyenne. But she definitely notices that she doesn't have a phone, because she gets on Facebook and she goes to Brittany's page and she posts on her wall like, hope you got home safely, I need my phone. Now, obviously, Brittany didn't get home safely because Cheyenne dumped her on the side of the road. In fact, while Cheyenne was passed out at home, someone came along and found Brittany's body lying in a ditch. And by this point, she's completely unresponsive, and as you can guess, she ultimately doesn't make it. And so now, police gotta get involved because there's a random
RP,
body in
man,
a
RP in the
ditch,
chat.
and boom, they immediately start investigating. And they're looking at the crime scene where Brittany's body was found, and they don't find much, but they do find the black braided belt that she was strangled with. And once the body is identified as Brittany, they start looking at her social media. And they notice the last thing she posted on Facebook the night she was unalived is that selfie she took with Cheyenne. So now, pow, Cheyenne is a person of interest. And so police go and they question her, which is apparently easy to do because she was apparently already in custody for a completely different crime she had committed. I told you she was a turd. But police question Cheyenne, and Cheyenne decides to lie to them. And she tells them that, yeah, she did go out that night. And she went to this house party, and that afterwards, she and Brittany went to this place called the Colonial Pub and Grill. And she says they met a guy there, and then that guy and Brittany dropped her off at her uncle's place. I don't know, it's some bullshit excuse. So then police go and investigate Colonial Pub and Grill, and they look at surveillance footage from that night, and there is no sign of Cheyenne or Brittany ever being there. Also, police discover that Cheyenne never visited her uncle that night. So now they've caught her in a couple of lies, and to them, she's starting to look suspicious. Meanwhile, this whole time, Cheyenne is posting things to Brittany's Facebook wall. I guess she's trying to make herself look not guilty. She's posting things like, I miss you, you were in my dreams last night, or this one, I miss you so much, I wish heaven had visiting hours so I could come see you. Now, unfortunately for her, this isn't gonna work, because rumors have already started to circulate. Because remember, Cheyenne's aunt saw them that night. She saw Cheyenne with Brittany's body in the car. And so rumors start to spread, and word gets back to Brittany's family that Cheyenne's aunt had saw them that night of the murder, and that Cheyenne showed up in the middle of the night, panicking, claiming that she hurt her friend. So, of course, Brittany's family goes and reports all this to the police. So now, police
y'all want to
are
report
even
him.
more suspicious of Cheyenne.
Idiot, bro.
But, unfortunately, they can't arrest her because they simply don't have enough evidence. Until 2 years go by, and detectives are working on this case, and they still can't figure it out. Now, they're pretty sure Cheyenne's involved, but they can't tie her directly to the crime, not in a way that's good enough to prosecute her. But then, one of the detectives is looking through all the evidence again, and they come across that selfie that the girls took that night. And they look at it one last time, and that is when they finally see it. Boom, it's right there, in the photo. Cheyenne is wearing a black braided belt. The same belt that they found at the crime scene. So she's wearing the murder weapon hours before the murder. And so, bam, police arrest Cheyenne. And I don't have a mugshot, but here's what she looks like in real life. And they charge her with second-degree murder, but she takes a plea deal and she pleads down to manslaughter, and she only gets 7 years in prison. So, shout out to Saskatoon.
No, that's nuts, I ain't gonna lie. That's insane, buddy. But like, subscribe, y'all boys. Y'all this video. Hey, y'all boys, before the video, it was good, shot. We got Ray William Johnson. She abused him.
So this guy, he has a big problem. His wife pooped on him. Let me explain. Now, the guy, his name's Richard, and he lives in London, he works in IT, and he's a really nice guy. And one night, he's out at a nightclub, probably drinking, dancing, having a good time, and that is when he meets this woman, Cherie. And Richard thinks Cherie is fine, and she thinks he is fine. So they hit it off, and pretty soon they start dating, and they get into a relationship. And things are going great. They seem really happy. Until... Here's the thing about Cherie. Cherie likes to drink. A lot. And when she drinks, she gets aggressive, especially with Richard. And so they fight. And sometimes when they fight, she gets out of control and she ends up getting physical with him. Like, she'll push him or slap him, and he's allegedly not the kind of guy who fights back, so he just takes it. And to make it worse, he's not about to admit to anyone that his girlfriend beats him up. Like, that's embarrassing. So Cherie's occasional drunken abuse continues. And 9 years pass, and Richard and Cherie, they end up getting married. But marriage doesn't stop the abuse. In fact, over the years, it actually gets worse and more frequent. Oh, and the abuse is not just physical. She verbally abuses him too. Like, he'll forget to do something like put the chicken in the oven for dinner, and she'll just lay into him, berating him, calling him all kinds of awful names. She'll also make offhand comments about his mother who passed away, which is just terrible. Not only that, when they start trying to have a kid, I guess they have to do it through IVF, and Cherie doesn't like that they have to do it through IVF, so she starts accusing Richard of being defective, of not being a real man, and that he's a failure because he's unable to get her pregnant. Just all kinds of awful stuff. Now, eventually, Richard does get her pregnant, and they do have a kid. So, to keep track of their kid in the house, Richard ends up installing nanny cams in the bedroom and in the kids' playroom. And these nanny cams are going to end up being important. So, more years pass, and the abuse continues to get worse. And Richard and Cherie, they have 2 more kids, so 3 daughters total. And over time, Cherie's drinking, unfortunately, gets more and more out of control. Sometimes she's consuming like 3 bottles of wine a day. And the more she drinks, the meaner she gets. Like, she's constantly calling Richard names, and sometimes she'll hit him, or she'll bite him, or she'll stab him with a fork, or she'll smash eggs on him. And like one time she gets so mad that she smashes an empty wine bottle over his head. And he's lying on the floor in pain, and she just like kicks him in the ear. Like, it is really bad. And poor Richard, he still doesn't want to tell anyone that his wife is abusive. I guess he's still ashamed that she beats him up, or maybe he just doesn't want to get her in trouble. Not only that, she very openly threatens to tell everyone that he is the abuser. And in these domestic abuse situations, men usually are the abuser, so people are more likely to believe her story over his. Sometimes she even threatens to go to the police and tell them he's the abuser. Sometimes she tries to get his daughters to tell people that he's abusive to them and her. Like, it is wild. So not only does Richard not tell anyone, he goes to great lengths to cover it up. Like, sometimes she'll hit him and he'll get bruises or injuries on his face, and he'll just cover up those marks with makeup so that people don't notice and start asking a bunch of questions. And so anyway, the abuse continues, and he just lets her punish him, verbally, physically, emotionally. Now, at some point during all this, Richard gets smart, and he starts documenting his injuries. He's taken photos of the marks she leaves on him. Here's an example of a photo he took, but I actually have to blur out the bruises because this platform won't let me show injuries from domestic abuse, which is understandable. But the picture shows his arm is all messed up, and there are a bunch of photos like this. So anyway, he gets smart and he starts documenting the abuse, taking photographs, making audio recordings, saving the nanny cam footage that catches them fighting. And one time, Cherie gets so drunk and out of control, they start fighting. And she goes to the kitchen and gets a kitchen knife, and she threatens him with it. And the nanny cam, it catches all of this on video. It is a little violent, but I can actually show you a screenshot of it. Richard appears to be huddled on the arm of the couch here, and you can see that she is holding the knife. But anyway, this is caught on nanny cam, so Richard downloads it and he adds it to his collection of photos and audio clips. Now, here's where things get really out of control. One time, they get in a fight, and she doesn't want him sitting on the bed because I guess it's her bed. I guess she paid for it with her credit card or something. I don't know. But she doesn't want him sitting on it. So he's like, all right, and he goes and sits on the floor. And while he's sitting on the floor, Cherie comes over and she poops on him. Like, she literally poops on him. Now, I don't know the specifics or why he wasn't able to move out of the way. It seems like that would be a very slow thing to happen. I don't know, but she poops on him. And then she expects him to clean it up. And I guess at that time, Richard is recording this fight, so he gets some audio of it.
You do deserve it. Gone
Ew, she's sorry. She wanted
Clean
him.
my shit up.
All right, so you get the point. She's super abusive to the point where she's pooping on him. And at this time, they're 20 years into this relationship. He's 47 now. She's 46. Imagine a 46-year-old adult pooping on you. In fact, I can't get over this. How did that even happen? Could he not move out of the way? Was she holding him down and then she pooped on him? Did he fall asleep and then she snuck up on him and dropped a deuce?
No.
Did she poop in her hand and then throw it at him? Did she then use his t-shirt to wipe herself? I need to know how this went down or I won't be able to sleep tonight. Anyway, after 20 years of this chaos, Richard is just broken. He wants it to stop. And that is when Cherie finally makes a huge mistake. She gets a friend involved. So one day, they're arguing, and I guess she's drunk because she's always drunk. And in the middle of the fight, she picks up her phone and she calls Richard's friend and she starts playing the victim. She's like, I'm scared, Richard is gonna hurt me. And so the friend comes over to help mediate the fight or whatever. But as soon as friend gets Richard alone with him, Richard finally breaks down and tells him everything. Everything he's been through for the past 20 years. That he is not the abuser. That his wife has been an abusive psychopath this whole time. That she pooped on him. And that he's even been trying to document some of this behavior. And then he shows his friends some of that nanny cam footage he had saved. And friend sees the footage and he's like, oh snap, you ain't lying. So when friend leaves, he immediately goes to police and he reports Cherie as a domestic abuser. And pretty quickly, boom, police show up to their house to do a welfare check. And they get there and Cherie's all drunk, and so bam, they arrest her. Here's her mugshot. And Richard, he cooperates with police and he hands over 43, here's her mugshot. And Richard, he cooperates with police and he hands over 43 photos of his injuries that he had taken over the years, along with audio clips he got, and most importantly, all that nanny cam footage of Cherie abusing him. And when police question Cherie about all this, she of course tries to blame it all on him, like, but I'm the victim here. But they already have plenty of evidence that says otherwise. So ultimately, she pleads guilty to all this and she gets sentenced to 4 years in prison. And Richard eventually leaves her and now he's settled down again with a new partner. So good for him. But like, she really went and pooped on him?
Oh, nah. I probably would have went to prison that day. You know? All right, y'all boys. Hey, y'all boys. Before the video, good time we got Ray William Johnson's Hot 2 girl. My bad. Hot 2 scam.
So this is Haley, aka Hawk Tua. And as of now, a lot of people want Haley to be thrown in jail. Here's what happened. So Haley's 21, living in small town Tennessee, and she works in a factory that makes springs that they use in vending machines. But one night, Haley and a friend, they're out on the town in Nashville, and they're pretty tipsy, and they see a couple of guys doing street interviews for a YouTube series. And these guys end up approaching Haley and doing a street interview with her.
What's one move in bed that makes a man go crazy every time?
Oh, you gotta give him that.
Yeah, you've seen the video. I don't have to show you. And you probably also already know that after the drunken interview, the guys go home and they upload the clips of Haley to social media. And the clip on TikTok blows the fuck up almost immediately. It goes viral and people are reposting it, and pretty quickly it gets memed like millions of times, and people start calling Haley the Hawk Tua girl. And from here, Haley actually does the smartest thing she could do in this situation. She's like, I'm about to capitalize on this. And before you know it, her social media starts getting a bunch of traction and she gets tons of followers and tons of fans. She signs with a management company. She starts getting invited onto podcasts.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. This is your first podcast ever, first anything ever. Yes, ma'am.
And suddenly she's invited to be on stage at a Zach Bryan concert. She's throwing out the ceremonial first pitch at a Mets game, all because she got drunk and made a joke about a wiener. Now, eventually, she teams up with Jake Paul's media company, and she wants to take advantage of her popularity by starting her own podcast, Talk Tua. And it seems like she's making the most of her viral moment. And she's very likable, and a lot of people love her. Until pretty quickly, she gets involved in a different type of venture, and this is what gets her in trouble. Now, at some point during all this, she partners with some crypto bros. And she and the crypto bros, they're gonna launch her very own meme coin called Hawk. So, leading up to the launch, she allegedly gives some free Hawk tokens to some fans, and she rallies them to get in on this exciting opportunity, and everyone's gonna be so rich, what could possibly go wrong from pushing a meme coin? Here's the thing about meme coins, though. Meme coins, or crypto based off of memes, they have a history of being pump and dump scams. And influencers and sometimes celebrities, they will sometimes push these meme coins onto their fans, and it all turns out to be a scam, and the fans end up getting screwed. And Haley must be aware of this reputation meme coins have, because in this interview with Fortune magazine, she reassures people that her meme coin is definitely not gonna be a cash grab.
Okay, y'all, drop your Solana wallets. I'm giving out some meme coins for free.
And so some of her fans get on board, and they invest, and they buy into it, because they're gonna be so rich off this. And then, finally, the big day comes, and boom!
My Hawk meme coin is live!
And so the coin launches, and
That's
it
crazy.
hits a $490 million market cap, allegedly. But then, the worst thing that could
490 million.
happen happens. Less than 20 minutes after the launch, pow! Over 90% of the shares are suddenly sold off, and the coin crashes, losing 95% of its value. 95. That means that if you invested $1 into this coin, you would now be left with 5 cents. So a lot of people lose a lot of money over this. Here's the thing though, Haley apparently doesn't lose any money over this, and the crypto bros she's partnered with, apparently they don't lose any money either. But the fans and the investors, they all do. And as you can imagine, they are pissed. And they feel something isn't right about this. And that is where this guy comes in,
Who's that?
CoffeeZilla. Now, CoffeeZilla, he's a YouTuber, and he's made a name for himself in the online space by calling out seemingly shady crypto behavior. And so CoffeeZilla, he's been watching this whole meme coin launch thing play out, and he finds it all very suspicious. And he's convinced it's some kind of scam, and he's like, not on my watch. So then, Haley and some of the crypto bros, they start a Twitter space, because I guess they want to explain to the investors that this whole meme coin thing, it wasn't really a scam, it wasn't a rug pull, and maybe they're like trying to calm them down. Except the main crypto bro, this guy, Doc Hollywood's speech to the investors doesn't exactly take accountability. In fact, it actually feels like it's blaming them a little.
There's a lot of negativity in the space. I think crypto brings the mentally ill into this thing, right? If you guys are in crypto, you're most likely mentally ill. And I'm gonna count myself as mentally ill for even being here right now. We're trying to actually have fun. We're trying to do something cool. We're trying to give meme tokens away for free to people who have never had any crypto before, any meme token. And you guys should be kissing my ass.
And CoffeeZilla is there in the space, and bro is just waiting for his turn to speak. And when it's his turn, he lets them know what's up.
I have questions. I'm raising my hand. Hey, guys.
What, CoffeeZilla?
Hey, this is one of the most miserable, horrible launches I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, then why the f are you on?
I've been tracing it on chain for a while. You guys generated over $1 million in fees while y'all's fans got rug pulled. There was snipers, but there was also insider trading directly linked to y'all's creator account. What are you guys doing?
No, that's not true.
That is true. That's a fact.
So then Doc Hollywood appears to get pretty riled up about CoffeeZilla's accusation.
Brother,
Island.
who profited? Over $1 million was just
I'm
made.
telling you, a foundation that pays people out. And by the way, hey, CoffeeZilla, I'm not asking you, questions that are irrelevant to the most important stuff that you said. Who cares where fees go? It goes to bills. It
Well,
goes
when you're
to
charging
attorneys.
15%,
it goes to accounts. It goes to directors.
If you're charging
it goes to
15%
staff.
on a rug pull
right?
and you're profiting from the
There's
rug
no
pull, I
rug
think it's
pull
relevant.
because we didn't pull a rug. I don't know what you're trying to say. It's not true.
Now, the funniest part of all of this is in the middle of all of this
Exposing
chaos, Haley, I guess she just suddenly gets tired and she's like, I'm gonna head out, as if she's not in the middle of being accused of fraud.
Hey guys, I hate to interrupt you, Nick. Hello there. But anywho, I'm gonna go to bed, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Okay.
Amazing. Now, to be clear and to be fair to everyone involved in this, I don't know if this was a scam or a rug pull, as they call it. I don't know enough about the crypto space to make that call. But the people who do know the space really well are all saying, yeah, it was a rug pull, and she got involved with some sketchy people. Now, I do know this. At the end of the day, the fans, the investors, they lost a lot of money. While Haley and the crypto bros, apparently they made a ton of money. So the optics of this aren't looking good for them. And the people who do feel like they got conned, they're really, really upset, and some of them are calling for her to be thrown in jail, which I promise you, Hawk Tuah Girl is not gonna be thrown in jail. That's just not gonna happen. However, some of the investors did file official complaints with the SEC, and there could possibly be lawsuits, but who knows? Now, after all of this happened, as of right now, as of me filming this video right now, Haley has gone pretty silent on her social media, but I'm sure she'll reappear at some point. And I'll keep you updated if anything happens beyond this, but my guess is that it won't. I mean, people rarely get in any real trouble for this crypto rug pull stuff. Welcome to America.
That like a cigar, y'all boy. Hey y'all boys, before the video, yo, what's good, chat? We got Ray William Johnson, this entitled teenie's in jail now.
So these turds, one day they're hanging out at the local mall, causing trouble and just being turds. Then, boom, they get kicked out. But they're not done messing around. So they go to a nearby Kroger and they all start causing a ruckus in there, being loud, breaking wine bottles, and just being awful. And at some point, the Kroger employees notice all this and they call the police. Minutes later, some police officers show up and they go to confront them.
Get them thugs.
Y'all was breaking stuff, y'all done broke wine bottles. It's on camera, they done caught y'all breaking stuff. Where y'all parents?
So there's a little bit of back and forth between them and the officers tell them to leave the store. But these guys are just not taking this seriously.
Time to leave. Get up, man. Time to go. I heard you, man.
Get your blood
out. Out. Let's go.
Yo, these niggas weirdos, bro. Like, me and my homeboys, we would never.
I'm not worried about your shoe. You can tie that outside. Let's go.
Yeah, they have no respect for anyone. Like, one of the teens gets into it with this woman who looks like a customer on the way out.
You ain't working nowhere.
Oh, my.
You ain't working nowhere.
Time to
You
go.
ain't working nowhere.
Are you his parent?
I'm not his parent.
All right, then let's go.
Yeah, his parent. Yeah.
Let's go.
Now, this kid in particular, we'll call him Little Brother. And Little Brother is the biggest problem here. He just isn't listening, and this is where things really start to go south.
I'm gonna put you in handcuffs in a minute. Do you understand that?
Don't touch him again.
Excuse me, he's gonna listen or he's gonna go in handcuffs. Now let's go.
I'm not even doing that. I'm finna walk up.
Yeah, get that thug.
No. Put your hand behind your back. Put your hand behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. Now. Put your hands behind your back. No, you're not listening to me.
Help me, what is wrong with you?
I gave you order.
I don't give a what the I don't give a get the off me. Wrong with you?
Oh, but it gets worse, because bro doesn't give up. In fact, he now thinks it's the appropriate time to just run, like he's gonna get away.
Yeah, not running like that.
Now, if you didn't catch that, because it's
get
hard to
pushed
see,
by a
I
customer?
guess people in the store are really sick of these guys' because if you slow down the footage of him running, you can see that a bystander steps in out of nowhere.
Me personally,
and
though, I
kaboom,
wouldn't take that, though.
he
That's
body
just me,
checks
though.
this kid. Shout out to that bystander. Anyway, pow, they arrest Little Brother. Or at least they try.
Get off of me or you're going to cuff too.
It's not meant to be gentle.
I mean, he's not wrong. Handcuffs definitely aren't meant to be gentle. Now, Little
they're
Brother
meant for thugs.
actually has an
And
older
he's a
brother
thug.
there with him. This kid, who we'll call Big Brother. Same guy who was asleep on the couch. Now, if you pause the video of Little Brother's arrest, you can see Big Brother interfering. Like that's his hand grabbing the officer's arm here. Now, obviously, you're not supposed to do that, and this is definitely gonna be a problem in a bit. So anyway, they finally arrest the Little Brother. But Big Brother still got his hands all up in the situation.
Watch out, he ain't going right out. Handcuffs on, man.
You dumb, bro. You dumb.
Well, you gotta get your goddamn hands off. Hey, chill out.
So police escort Little Brother out. But for some reason, I guess he just wants to go to jail, Big Brother refuses to leave.
We ain't shopping anymore, so you can turn around and leave the store right now.
Oh, nah.
Hey, where's your phone then?
I'm going to get it.
Yeah, close the schools down. Close them down right now.
I'm walking around looking at merchandise right now.
I don't want handcuffs.
You should be in handcuffs right now for assaulting my officer back there, okay? I'm giving you a chance to get your phone. If you're not going to get your phone, I'm going to take you outside and handcuff. Go, come on.
You think I'm doing it?
Come on.
Why would you even leave your phone?
Meanwhile, little brother is not going out without a fight.
I'm not getting in that car. Bro, can y'all please call y'all sergeant? Bro, no. I am the sergeant. Okay, I am the sergeant, smart one. Bro, no, can y'all talk to me first?
Bro literally says, can y'all talk to me first? Isn't that what they were trying to do the whole time before he decided it was a good idea to run from the police?
Back off! Back off! Get in the car!
You either get in or I'm throwing you in. You got 1 minute.
Bro, wait, can y'all listen, please? Bro, these handcuffs.
Move your legs.
Get all the way in. These handcuffs, man. Can you please? We'll adjust them once you're in. Get in. Okay, you cannot. Get in. You cannot push me. Get in. I can't. The buckler's behind me, sir. Get your
See, bro, feel like this. I don't even know if I could say this, bro. Never mind. I'm just saying, you make us look
now,
bad.
They do eventually get him in the car, but this isn't over yet, because Big Brother is about to be a problem. Now, at this point, most of these guys have left. A couple of them left at the beginning when the officers were escorting them out. And they do eventually get Big Brother and 2 of his friends to leave the area. But then, for some stupid reason, these 3 insist on coming back to Kroger.
Stop right there. You're not coming any closer. Stop and walk down there.
The officer said we can come over here. That officer over there said we can come over here. You got pepper spray out like we are threatening. We just standing.
Walk that way now, or I'm going to put all 3 of you in handcuffs and you can join him in the car.
Now, just to be clear, this could all end right now. Like, it would be over if they would just leave. Like, they've been trespassed. There's no reason for them to hang around.
All right, turn around, put your hands in your back. Don't touch me. Nope, turn around, put your hands in your back.
God, like what the f***? Tighten up. I'm standing here. No. You can get out my face.
Boss man, go ahead and put your ladder down for me.
Stand up. But I'm just sitting there playing.
Behind your back. You're going to be under arrest too.
What the f*** I do?
Battery on a Leo.
Battery on a why I didn't touch nobody.
Yeah, you did.
Now, he says, I didn't touch nobody. But, as we all saw, he did, in fact, touch somebody. He had his hands all over those officers during that arrest, which is a crime. And the most frustrating part is that he could have gotten away with it if he had just walked away when they asked him to leave. Why didn't he just walk away?
Let him handcuff you. Don't do this. Man, what the f*** you mean? I didn't touch you.
Do you want to get tased? Put your hand behind your back.
Let me go. Stop. I got the handcuffs off me.
And I just want to point out that he's apparently struggling so hard during this arrest that he drops a whole pack of Uno cards. You can pause the footage and you can see it. Like, bro was trying to find his Uno reverse card to get out of this. Anyway, Big Brother is still mad, even when they put him in the police car.
I don't give a that.
Oh my gosh. But he's a nuisance.
Take the badges off, cuz.
Then, for some reason, it's not actually clear to me from the footage, they arrest the girl that's with them too. She's apparently their sister. Cool family. So, what happened to them afterwards? Well, I'm pretty sure they're all minors, so at the end of the day, they probably won't get in too much trouble. Little probation, little community service, probably. Now, I couldn't find any official information on them, like what happened to them after all this, but I'm pretty sure, like, they cleaned up their act, and they all went and got an education. They went and got doctorates from Yale.
Cap.
Probably, right?
Cap. We know they're gonna be back. Look at their skin color. I didn't mean to say that. Alright, y'all boys, it's day 19. Like and subscribe. See y'all in this video. Hey, y'all boys, before the video. Yo, what's good, chat? We got Ray William Johnson. Pilot took mushrooms before his flight and... Don't tell me you crashed.
Imagine you're on a flight and it's in the air, and a pilot in the cockpit suddenly decides, I'm gonna crash this plane. And this would unalive you and everyone else on it. Now, the pilot, his name's Joe, and Joe, he's a commercial airline pilot. He's been doing it a while, and he likes this job. But one day, boom, Joe gets hit with some terrible news. His best friend Scott just suddenly passed away from a heart problem. And Joe is devastated. Like, this is his best friend, and he's never lost somebody close to him. And he takes this really hard, and pretty quickly, he starts getting depressed, and he starts drinking heavily to deal with it. And as the years go by, his depression only gets worse, especially around the yearly anniversary of Scott's passing. And eventually, Joe's wife is like, "You're not doing well. I think you should talk to a professional." So he does. He goes to see a therapist. And therapist tells him to consider seeing a psychiatrist and getting on antidepressants. Here's the thing though, apparently if a commercial pilot goes on antidepressants, the airline will no longer allow them to fly, and he would have to jump through a lot of bureaucratic hoops to keep his job. I guess it's their policy. So Joe's like, "Nah, bro," and he doesn't take any meds. He doesn't want to lose his job. Instead, he just keeps working all the time and self-medicating with alcohol. And almost 6 years have passed since Joe lost his best friend, and he's still feeling it. And at one point, he flies to Washington State to be with his other friends. I guess they're gonna have a memorial for Scott. And during this memorial, in remembrance of Scott, Joe and his friends, they do a lot of partying. Like, a lot of partying. And the group decides they're gonna do what we'll call medicinal mushrooms. Joe's never done this before, but he's like, "Alright." No. And so he takes these mushrooms and he starts feeling pretty good. And he stays up all night and he's having a lot of fun. And a few days later, it's time for him to leave Washington and go back home. And allegedly, he's been going hard. Like, he hasn't slept in like 40 hours or something like that. And he goes to the airport and he gets on a plane and he's ready to fly out of there. But he's still allegedly kind of tripping from the mushrooms from a few days before. Like they're still in his system or something. Now, he's not on duty, but because he's a pilot, he's gonna ride for free in the cockpit jump seat. That's where off-duty pilots sit when they take a flight and they're not piloting. And as the plane takes off and it's in the air, Joe starts to get a really bad feeling. A feeling like he's trapped in this airplane and he'll never be able to get out. And suddenly, bam, a bad trip hits him like a freight train. And Joe feels like he's stuck in a nightmare. Like none of what he's experiencing is reality. Like the pilots flying the plane aren't really pilots. And he doesn't know what to do. And he believes the only way out of this is to make himself wake up. And that is when he looks up to the ceiling of the plane and he sees 2 red handles. Those red handles are fire extinguisher handles. They're also designed to shut down the engines of the plane in an emergency. And Joe decides that in order to wake himself up, he needs to pull the levers and crash the aircraft. So he stands up and he reaches out and he pulls both of those handles. And the 2 pilots in the cockpit, they see this and they're like, "What the f***?" And they immediately jump up and grab Joe and they pull him away. And one of them quickly pushes the handles back in again, and this restores the fuel flow to the engines, and so the engines are working properly again. Close call. And I guess the human touch brings Joe back into his body. And so he stands up and he leaves the cockpit and he walks to the back of the plane and he sits in a flight attendant's jump seat. And he tells the flight attendant to handcuff him because this is gonna get really bad. And so the flight attendants restrain his hands with flex cuff, which is like zip ties. And he's sitting there in the jump seat, and I guess he's still like, "I gotta wake up from this bad dream." And he grabs a whole ass pot of coffee near him, and he starts drinking straight out of it. And the poor flight attendants, they're trying to calm him down, and they have no idea he was just in the cockpit trying to crash the plane. But then he reaches over toward the emergency exit, and he wants to get it open so that he can jump out. Because he's like, jumping out will certainly wake me up. Now, luckily, the crew stops him by gently removing his hands from the door and distracting him with a bit of conversation. Now, at this point, the pilots have diverted the flight to Portland, because they're like, "We gotta get this guy the hell off this plane." And they land, and police officers come on board, and they escort Joe off the plane. This is actually some footage of that, and there he is there. And so, bam, Joe's arrested. And I don't have a mugshot, but here is a photo of him detained. And he's charged with 83 counts of attempted murder and reckless endangerment, and his pilot's license is suspended, and he gets out on bail, and he's apparently clean now, so no more mushrooms before traveling. And he and his wife have since started a nonprofit to advocate and help pilots get treated for depression. And ultimately, lucky for him, the federal court drops his attempted murder charges, but his trial for some of the other charges is still pending as of the date of me making this video. So, good luck to them.
That was fast. Y'all like and subscribe. Hey, y'all boys, before the video. Yo, what's good, child? We got Ray William Johnson. He murdered his Tinder date.
If you've ever used a dating app, you've probably had some bad experiences. And you may have wondered, has anyone ever been murdered off of one of these things? Well, let me show you. So this guy, his name's Ethan, and he's a goofy, fun-loving guy. He works at a concrete company, and his customers love him, his coworkers love him. Ethan's life is good. And Ethan is also married. And one day, he and his wife, they aren't seeing eye to eye. And soon, they're arguing all the time, and this is stressing him out, and it's really affecting his mental health. And he's anxious, and he's distracted, and his wife is worried about him. And she suggests that he get some help. But he doesn't, so nothing changes, and unfortunately, they end up separating. And Ethan is devastated about this. How could she leave him? And pretty quickly, he gets really depressed, and soon enough, everyone starts to notice. His friends and his coworkers, they barely recognize him. Like he used to be so much fun to work with, and now he's just kind of a bummer. And not only that, he starts to think really dark, violent thoughts. Specifically, thoughts about hurting women. And to make it worse, he starts to talk about those thoughts out loud at work. And as you can imagine, it's pretty uncomfortable for everyone.
He became a serial killer
around him. People are like, yo, you need to chill, bro. And I don't know exactly what happens, but eventually there's an altercation between Ethan and one of his female coworkers, and Ethan ends up getting fired. And this pisses him off even more. And little by little, he isolates himself from his family, from his friends, and it's lonely as fuck for him. And so one day, he's on Instagram, and he comes across this woman he used to work with back when he was a teenager. Her name's Autumn. And Ethan always thought Autumn was fine. So he slides into her DMs, and they start chatting. And pretty soon, he's like, so, you wanna hang tomorrow? And she's like, sorry, I already have plans. And a few days later, he tries again, like, wanna hang? And again, she's like, nah, I have plans, bro. Here's the thing. Autumn is really not into him. She's just trying to let him down easy. But Ethan doesn't really get the hint. Maybe he thinks she's playing hard to get, I don't know. But he keeps texting her, and all it's doing is freaking Autumn out. And eventually, she just ghosts him, stops answering. I actually have screenshots of his text. Like, hey, are you doing anything tomorrow night? 2 weeks later, hey, what's up? 2 months later, hey, how are you? And she never answers. So I imagine Ethan is frustrated with the women in his life, and women in general. And bro just snaps. He's finally had enough. Someone needs to pay for all this rejection he's going through. So he opens his phone, he taps on the Tinder app, and he starts swiping, looking for a girl. Any girl. And soon, boom, he gets a match with this woman. Her name's Ashlyn. Ashlyn's 25, and she works with kids with special needs. She's a really good person. So Ashlyn and Ethan, they start chatting, and they hit it off, and they decide to meet up. The next night, they finally meet. Ethan drives to her house, he picks her up, and they go out to a local bar. And he's polite, he's nice to her, and they're there for about 4 hours drinking and hanging out. And Ashlyn, she's kind of feeling him, and he's kind of feeling her. So he invites her back to his place to chill. She's like, alright. And so they go back to his place, and they watch a movie, and they end up smashing, and eventually they fall asleep. And it seems like this date is going pretty well, and maybe now Ethan understands that not all women are out to hurt him. Until around 3 a.m., Ethan wakes up, and he sees Ashlyn next to him, and he watches her sleep for a moment peacefully, And that is when he snaps. Suddenly, pow, he wraps his hand around her throat and he squeezes as hard as he can. And she wakes up and he's choking her and she fights back and she hits him, but he's just too strong and he won't let go. Then he does finally let go, and suddenly he runs into the kitchen, and as Ashlyn struggles to catch her breath, he comes back with a knife, and he starts stabbing her over and over again, like 10 times. And as she lays there, injured, dying, Ethan calls 911. And he's like, I just unalived someone, and I want to unalive myself. And the 911 operator's like, oh shit, and she immediately dispatches police. Minutes later, police arrive at Ethan's house, and they find Ashlyn, and as you can guess, she unfortunately doesn't make it. And when police ask Ethan what happened, he's like, we were on a Tinder date, and we came back to watch a movie, and then I woke up and I unalived her. And police are like, you attacked her completely unprovoked? And Ethan's like, yeah. And so, bam, they arrest him. Here's his mugshot. And he's charged with first-degree murder, and ultimately he ends up pleading guilty, and he's sentenced to a minimum of 15 years in prison. Crazy. So yeah, be careful on your dating apps. 15 years in prison. So yeah, be careful on your dating apps.
15 years is crazy work, gang. All right, y'all boys, like I said, all right. Y'all next video. Hey, y'all boys, before the video. Yo, what's good, chat? We got Ray William Johnson, Luigi Mangione is in big trouble now.
So this guy, his name's Luigi, and Luigi just unalived a man, and people love him for it. So Luigi's got a lot going for him. He was a valedictorian in his high school, he went to an Ivy League university, and he's generally a charming and friendly dude. And one day, he decides to move to Hawaii. I mean, he's in his 20s, he has a remote job, so why not? And there, Luigi learns to surf. Here's the thing, though. Luigi has had bad back pain since he was a little kid. He actually has a condition called spondylolisthesis. And I guess all the surfing aggravates his spondylolisthesis, and his back starts hurting like crazy. In fact, it's so bad that he's in bed for a week, and even after he recovers enough to get out of bed, the pain doesn't really go away. So most days, Luigi's just in pain and it sucks. So he does his research and he starts reading books about chronic back pain, and he does everything he can to help himself. But nothing seems to work, and this back problem is really starting to consume his life. Like, he's not sleeping right, and he can't surf, he can't have sex, he can't live the active life he wants in Hawaii. So eventually, he leaves. And I don't know exactly where he goes after this, but things continue to get worse. Like, the pain is just unbearable. Sometimes his legs feel numb, and he just never feels rested. And this is just a bit of speculation on my part because we don't have all the info right now, but it is speculated that this whole time he's battling with his health insurance provider, trying to get them to cover his treatment. And that, unfortunately, isn't going too well, as these things generally don't. And eventually, something happens to him that gets him sent to the ER. And from there, he has to schedule a surgery for his back, no matter what it costs. I mean, there's no other way around it. This is ruining his life. So he schedules the surgery, and he gets it. And it's a spinal fusion surgery where doctors fuse part of the spine together. And so they do the surgery, and after about a week, he's already starting to feel better. And little by little, he becomes active again. And he goes backpacking through Asia, and he ends up in Japan, and this is just what he really needed. But again, this is speculation based on how American health insurance works, but it is speculated that during this, he continues to fight with his health insurance provider to get them to cover his back surgery. And they just keep giving him the runaround, like they are known to do. And by the time he gets back to the US, bro has had enough. He's done with these insurance companies, and he's done with the US healthcare system. And so he decides to do something about it. And he comes up with this insane plan to assassinate a CEO. So first, he distances himself from his friends and family, and he stops posting online. He basically ghosts everyone for months. Then he gets a bunch of fake IDs, and he 3D prints a pew-pew and a silencer. Then he takes 3 bullets, and on the casings, he etches the words, deny, defend, depose on them. which deny, defend, depose is a reference to delay, deny, defend, which is a reference to the shady tactics that American health insurance companies use to deny coverage to people in need. And so after doing that, Luigi gets on a Greyhound bus, and they believe it originated in Atlanta, and he takes that bus all the way up to New York City. And there, he checks into a hostel, and he waits. 10 days later, it's early in the morning, and Luigi leaves the hostel and he heads over to the Hilton Hotel. And there, outside the hotel, he waits for about an hour for his target to show up. Then his target does.
Wait, but like, how do you know though?
Brian.
How do
Now,
you know
Brian
though?
is the CEO of United
How do you
Healthcare,
know
aka
though?
the largest health insurance company in the United States. Now, allegedly, United Healthcare denies more claims every year than any other health insurer. So a lot of Americans really hate this company, including me. F them. So Brian is just arriving to the hotel for an investors conference, probably to talk about his record profit margins or whatever. But then Luigi sees him walking up, and he walks right up behind him, and he aims his pew-pew at him, and he shoots him in the back. And Brian stumbles, and he falls to the ground. And the whole thing is caught on security footage, which I can't show you the murder, but you can see Brian here, and obviously Luigi is here. So anyway, Luigi shoots him. Mission accomplished. And he knows he needs to get the hell out of there before police show up. So he jumps on one of those bike share e-bikes and he flees. And you can actually see him on surveillance footage here, passing by. And so he rides over to Central Park and he ditches the bike and his backpack and his jacket and he hails a cab. And eventually he ends up at Penn Station. From there, allegedly, he gets on a train and he flees to Philadelphia. And so Luigi's long gone. His plan worked, he made his escape. And Brian, as you already know, he doesn't make it. But then the news breaks.
Tonight, the urgent manhunt in New York City after the CEO of one of America's largest health insurers was fatally shot in a brazen targeted attack.
And as crazy as this story is, it doesn't really catch fire with the general public until the public learns about the bullet casings. The ones that had the words deny, defend, depose etched on them. Because this suddenly lets everyone know that the shooter's motive was likely tied to being denied health insurance coverage, something that nearly every American adult has experienced or will experience in their lifetime. And so, real quick, you people who aren't from the United States, I don't think you quite understand. In America, the health insurance business is all run by private corporations. There is no public option. So even if you have insurance and you get sick or injured, the insurance companies will very often figure out ways to not have to cover you. Even though you're paying them every month, doesn't matter. They will find a way to not cover you. It's a really fucked up system that the general public is absolutely fed up with. And so people learn that Luigi unalived this healthcare CEO, and they start going apeshit. Like, people online are defending him, saying the shooting was justified. People start putting up wanted posters of other healthcare CEOs. Luigi gets a ton of fans. His social media accounts quickly blow up with hundreds of thousands of new followers before social media platforms take them all down a few hours later. And people are like reposting shirtless pictures of him, thirst trapping over him, like, oh my god, he's so fine. I mean, people on TikTok are talking about how attractive he is.
Every woman in America is thirsting so hard for this Luigi Mangione guy. Yes, he's objectively attractive.
And so people from all sides of the political spectrum are cheering him on because he's suddenly become a representative of every American's frustration with the U.S. healthcare system. Meanwhile, the NYPD is on a manhunt for Luigi, and they release a few photos of their person of interest, but they don't really know who he is. And he covered his tracks well enough that they can't find him. So the NYPD offers a $10,000 reward for any tips leading to his arrest. Then the FBI offers a $50,000 reward. But so far, no one is snitching, because a lot of people think he's a hero. So then 5 days go by since the shooting, and Luigi, he's been hiding out this whole time, and he ends up in Altoona, Pennsylvania. And at one point, I guess he gets hungry, like we all do, and he decides to go eat at a local McDonald's. And while he's there, another customer feels like they recognize him, and they tell an employee, and that employee calls 911. Minutes later, police show up, and bam, they finally arrest him. Here's his mugshot. And here's some more footage of him. He's in police custody. Anyway, so he's in jail now, waiting on his trial, which will probably happen sometime in 2025. And it's going to be an absolute circus. but I'm sure we'll cover it, and I'll keep you updated.
Dang, that's tough, my brother. Free him out the pen. Oh, kizzy. All right, y'all boys, like and subscribe. Yo, chat, before the video, we out. Yo, it's good, chat. We got Ray William Johnson. Religious people are all good. Facts.
Just because someone is religious doesn't mean they're a good person, or even a sane person. Here's an example. So this guy, his name is List, and List has a lot going for him. He has a good marriage, he has 3 kids, he lives in this huge 19-room mansion. I mean, look at that place. Plus, he's got a sweet job as vice president for a bank, so bro is doing well. But most importantly, he's very religious. Like, he and his family go to church every week, so you know he's a good person. But one day, everything changes, because boom, List suddenly gets laid off from his vice president job at the bank. And List, he doesn't know what to do. He can't tell anyone that he lost his good-paying job. That would be humiliating. So he decides to not tell anyone. He doesn't tell his family, he doesn't tell his friends. Instead, he just keeps going. He wakes up every day, he gets dressed like he always does, and he tells his family that he's going to work. But instead, he drives to the train station and he just sits in his car and reads the newspaper until it's time to head home. So that his family thinks he's going to work and they don't ask him any questions. And List does this for a few months. He just fakes going to work. I guess he's hoping that during this period he'll find another gig to keep him afloat. I don't know, it doesn't seem like a very good plan. Also, because he's not working, he obviously has no income coming in and his bills start stacking up. Particularly his mortgage for that 19-room mansion he and his family are living in. So after months of not working, he owes $11,000 on his mortgage. And this was 1971, so today's dollars, he owes about 87 grand. That's a lot of money. So naturally, List starts freaking out. Like, what's he gonna do? Are he and his family gonna go bankrupt? Is he gonna have to go on welfare? And remember, he's still very religious. So List starts worrying that he's gonna lose everything and that his family is gonna get so poor that they're gonna turn their backs on his religion, and then his wife nor any of his kids will get into heaven. And so this is a big deal for List. Like, he can't have his family not getting into heaven. So he comes up with this insane plan to make sure his fam doesn't get so poor that they turn their back on his religion. Here's the plan. First, he tells everyone they're going on a big family trip, like a vacation, and he stops all the milk deliveries and newspaper deliveries to their home. Then, one afternoon, List is at home, and he gets a couple of pew-pews that he owns out of the garage, and he goes back in the house and up to his wife, and he points one of them at her, and blam! From the screen. Her. Then he goes upstairs where his mom is living, because I guess his mom lives in the mansion with him too, and blam! He unalives her as well. Then he goes downstairs to the kitchen and he waits for his kids to come home from school. Once they get home, he takes the pew-pews and blam, blam, he unalives them too. Then he sits down and he writes a 5-page handwritten letter to his pastor. And in the letter he explains in detail that he had to unalive his whole family in order to save their souls and make sure they get into heaven. Also, in this letter, he acknowledges that, yeah, he lost his job and he could go on welfare, but then he says he'd have to move out of that 19-room mansion that he loves so much and live somewhere that he refers to as undesirable. So this is not just about saving his family's souls, it's also that he doesn't want to live in a smaller house. Anyway, then List goes to every family photo in the house and he rips his face out from them so that police won't be able to identify him from his photos. Then he leaves all the lights on in the mansion to make it look like people are still living there. And he packs up some of his stuff and he flees. And he travels by train from New Jersey over to Michigan and then all the way down to Colorado, and he starts living there. And weeks go by, and back in New Jersey, no one thinks much about List's family being gone. I mean, they were supposed to go on a family trip, so they would be gone. But then, about a month goes by, and in the house, light bulbs start burning out and turning off, one by one. And the neighbors notice, like, I don't think anyone lives there anymore. And so the neighbors end up calling the police. And police come over and they enter the mansion and they find List's family's bodies and the 5-page letter he wrote. So they know who did this. Except there's no trace of him. They don't know where he went. They have no photos to go by, so they basically have no leads. Meanwhile, List has been in Colorado, living a brand new life. He changed his identity, he changed his name, he calls himself Bob now. And Bob works different jobs, mostly in restaurant kitchens, keeping quiet, keeping a low
Bro, it's basically Joe Goldberg, if you think about it.
Profile. And eventually he ends up living in Denver and he settles down there and he finds work and he joins a local church because, you know, he's still very religious. And after about 5 years, Bob goes back to working in finance again. I guess he does bookkeeping for a carpet business or something. But that same year, he meets a nice woman at a church gathering and he thinks she is fine. And they hit it off and they start dating and eventually they get married. Now, Bob obviously doesn't tell her or anyone else his real identity or that he murdered his last
literally Joe Goldberg, bro. Literally.
Family. He keeps that a secret. But eventually, Bob and his wife, they move from Denver all the way over to Virginia. And there, they settle down and they make a nice life for themselves. And at this point, it's been around 18 years since he unalived his other family. And it seems like the world has completely forgotten about the List murders. And dude is never gonna get caught. Until... Alright, now some of you aren't from the US. Well, in the US, there's a long-running TV show called America's Most Wanted. And on the show, they talk about criminals and people who are wanted by the feds for various crimes. Well, at this time, America's Most Wanted is brand new. It's in its first year, so everyone is watching it. And one night, boom, the show airs and they do a segment talking about these unsolved murders of this family that happened back in New Jersey 18 years before. And by this point, they've figured out that the killer is List. They just don't know where he is. Now, despite him tearing himself out of all those family photos all those years ago, they actually did find some images of him, so they know what he used to look like. And on the TV show, they use those images and they get a forensic artist to make a bust of what List would look like now that he's aged almost 20 years. And this freaking bust they made, if you compare it to List, it looks almost exactly like him. Like, look at that. Like, that forensic artist nailed it. And so that night, there's this woman watching the show, and she actually used to be List's neighbor. So she sees this America's Most Wanted segment, and she's like, holy shit, that's Bob, that's my old neighbor. No. And so I guess she calls the police or America's Most Wanted hotline or whatever, and she reports that Bob might actually be this killer List. And about 2 weeks later, the FBI shows up to the accounting firm where Bob works, and bam, they arrest him. Here's his mugshot. And of course, he continues to insist that, no, I didn't murder anyone. My name's Bob. And the feds are like, yeah, sure, List. That's bullshit. But eventually, he confesses and he's convicted of 5 counts of first-degree murder. And he's sentenced to life in prison. And later, at 82 years old, List is in prison and he finally passes away from pneumonia. So... Also, before he finally died, he said that he hopes to be reunited with his family in heaven. Good luck with that.
Alright, y'all boys, like and subscribe, bro. Let's get 5 likes on the video, bro. See y'all next video. Yo, chat, before the video, we out. Yo, it's good, chat. We got Ray William Johnson. He actually flew and then got arrested.
Have you ever seen the movie Up and wondered, could someone really fly with a bunch of balloons like that? Well, this guy is about to find out. Now, his name's Larry, and Larry's 33, and he's a little nutty. But he has a big dream. He really wants to fly. And one day, he gets an idea of just how to do it. He's gonna tie a bunch of balloons to a lawn chair, and he'll fly that way. And he becomes obsessed with this idea, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to make his dream come true. So he gets help from his girlfriend, this woman, Carol. And so Carol purchases 45 8-foot weather balloons, helium tanks, and other things that he needs to make his lawn chair into an aircraft. And she lets Larry use her backyard for launch. So she's all in. And so Larry, he goes and he attaches the balloons to his lawn chair and he packs up a few things he'll need, like a pellet gun, a bottle of soda, a two-way radio, and some milk jugs full of water. And his girlfriend Carol is watching, and Larry's friend Ron plans to film the whole thing. So here's Larry's full plan. First, he's gonna tether his chair to the bumper of a car. Then, before he takes off, he'll notify the FAA and local airports so that he doesn't get hit by an airplane. And once his chair rises to 100 feet, his friends will then untether him, and the winds will, in theory, carry him about 250 miles, flying from the San Pedro neighborhood all the way to the Mojave Desert. And once he gets to the Mojave, he'll shoot some of the balloons with his pellet gun, and this will slowly lower his chair until he can land safely in the desert. And after he does all that, he will not only have achieved his dream, but he'll be renowned for his ingenuity, being the first person to ever fly with balloons attached to a lawn chair. And everyone will celebrate him as a hero, and he'll be so famous.
Yeah.
Perfect plan. What could possibly go wrong? And so Larry gets in his chair, and he's ready for liftoff. Now, Larry doesn't strap himself in. Oh no, I guess he doesn't believe he could possibly fall. But anyway, suddenly, pow, a strong gust of wind blows in, and it hits him, and the tether attached to his chair snaps like a gunshot. And Larry flies straight up into the air, and his chair keeps rising higher and higher and higher, way faster than any of them had anticipated, rising around 1,000 feet per minute. 1,000 feet per minute. Now, to put that into perspective, the top floor of the Empire State Building is about 1,250 feet tall. So his chair is rising almost an entire Empire State Building per minute. Meanwhile, down on the ground, Carol and Ron are in panic mode. None of them expected his chair to go that high that quickly. Not to mention, Larry didn't notify the local airports. His chair took off before he got the opportunity to. So he's very much in danger of getting hit by a plane. Regardless, he isn't ready to give up. He's determined to achieve his dream. And that is when two commercial airliners fly near, and the pilots can't believe what they see. And at least one of them radioed...
Pilot, bro, you flying a plane on a regular day, and you see a nigga in a balloon chair floating past you, bro.
To air traffic control, and they're like, there's some weirdo out here flying in a chair holding a pew-pew. And so a helicopter is dispatched to go investigate. While Carol is still down on the ground, and she's freaking out. She's talking to Larry through his two-way radio, and she's like, that's enough, it's time to come down.
Cut your balloons and come down now. Everyone wants you down now.
But no, Larry keeps rising higher and higher. And now he's up around 16,000 feet high, which is roughly half as high as your commercial airliner would fly. So he's way up there. It's also really fucking cold at that altitude, about 2 degrees Fahrenheit. So his feet start to become numb from the cold, and he's struggling to breathe because the air is so thin. And if Larry goes any higher, he'll probably run out of oxygen and die. Here's the thing though, as I said, he was never supposed to go this high, and if he pops any balloons at this height, it could throw his chair off balance and he could fall overboard. But he's got no other options. He has to take the risk before he passes out from lack of oxygen. So he grabs his pellet gun and he aims it, and pop! Pop! He starts shooting the balloons one by one. When suddenly, oops, his chair tips and the pellet gun slips out of his hand and it falls overboard down to the ground. So now what's he gonna do? Well, luckily, he shot enough balloons that the chair slowly starts to sink, and his altitude gets lower and lower and lower. And when his chair sinks low enough, he looks up and he notices he's now headed straight for some power lines. Man, this guy can't catch a break. And then, pow! He and his chair slam into the power lines, breaking them. And this causes a whole ass blackout for the neighborhood below. But luckily, he doesn't get electrocuted. He actually survives, and he finally drops down to the ground. And in total, he only made it about 10 miles from where he started. And there, on the ground, he isn't renowned for his ingenuity or celebrated as a hero. Instead, he's treated as a guy who just committed a bunch of airspace violations. And so, bam, police arrest him. And they eventually do drop the charges against him, but it's not over. Because Larry's story is so absurd that it blows up and everyone is talking about it. It's all over the news, people start calling him Lawn Chair Larry, and he even gets invited on the David Letterman show.
Please welcome Larry Walters.
And Larry's flight later inspires a whole-ass movie called Danny Deckchair. But anyway, ultimately, Larry does make history, as his lawn chair gets donated to the Smithsonian Museum, where to this day, it is still on display. And to be fair, even though he almost died, he did achieve his dream.
Now, how does that feel, having succeeded in achieving what you always wanted to do?
I achieved inner peace. I've achieved inner peace within myself. Really? I'm a happier person today.
And 10 years later, Larry unfortunately shot himself, and he died. And a huge shout out to Leonardo.ai for sponsoring this video. If you want to make really cool...
I want to fly on a balloon chair. Should I recreate this? Part 2? Alright, man. Like and subscribe right away. Yo, Chad, before the video, we out. Yo, what's up, Chad? We got Ray William Johnson, the rich influencer. This rich influencer is broke now. Me too. Oh my, McLaren? Oh. Alright.
So RD's looking at his Instagram account, and I guess it suddenly hits him. Like, oh snap, I can make sales from Instagram? And soon enough, Instagram becomes a big part of his business. Like, people will go to his page, and they'll see something they like, and they'll reach out to him, and boom, he'll deliver a brand new exotic car to their door, and he'll collect his money. And from there, everything takes off. He's hustling, he's making...
That's nice, though. What the?
Then RD gets a call from a producer who's working on a music video for Taylor Swift. And they're like, we need a Bugatti for a music video. And so they rent a Bugatti from him and it appears in the video. Like, there it is right there. And this starts to solidify RD as the car dealer to the stars. And just from his Instagram, you can see him with a ton of celebrities. Ryan Seacrest, Floyd Mayweather, Migos, Jimmy Kimmel, Travis Barker, Bad Bunny, Quentin Tarantino, A$AP Rocky, Aaron Paul, Michael Bay. But you get the point. Bro is suddenly rubbing elbows with a ton of famous people. And during all this, RD opens a car showroom in Beverly Hills called Wires Only. And things are going really well for him. In fact, they're going so well, he eventually gets his own reality show.
Oh my.
Wheels, hosted by him. And it's on HBO Max, you can watch it. But on the show, he sells exotic cars to celebrities like Kim Kardashian.
Kardashian?
And when RD's not shooting the show, he's still insanely busy, sourcing super rare cars and boats and private jets for his clients. And his Instagram blows up to over 1 million followers.
Damn.
Bro is getting super rich off all this.
How much is your business generating per year?
Our business generates anywhere from $70 to $150 million per year.
Damn. 70 to 150
Damn.
Dude is making millions of dollars to drive nice cars and hang out with celebrities. Call me crazy, but I feel like he's got the perfect life. Until... Now, you know how they say things on social media aren't always as they seem? Because, you know, people on Instagram just be lying. Well, allegedly, things aren't going well for RD as he would want the world to believe. Because apparently, bro starts missing payments on some of the cars he's leasing, suggesting that he's having money problems. And like, instead of buying exotic cars and then leasing them to his clients, he allegedly leases a lot of the cars and then subleases them to his clients, which you're not supposed to do without proper consent, and people will sue you for that. He also allegedly sells exotic cars that he doesn't have permission to sell, so that's not
Yep.
good. Also, his dealership is operating in Beverly Hills without a proper license or proper permits. And when he finally does petition the city for the proper permits, the city is like, nah, bro. Probably because he had been operating illegally for years. So Beverly Hills denies his permit request, and boom, poor RD has to close down his exotic car dealership.
Damn.
He doesn't flex about that on his Instagram because that shit's embarrassing. And of course, from here, his checks start bouncing, and people definitely start to notice, and they're pissed. And a lot of his clients and his business associates, they start filing lawsuits against him for all sorts of things like breach of contract, civil theft, fraud, deceit, negligent misrepresentation, violation of vehicle code. And before he knows it, there are a dozen lawsuits against him. Probably more at this point. And they range from people suing him for tens of thousands of dollars all the way to people suing him for millions of dollars. Not only that, one of those bad checks he wrote was allegedly a $13,000 check to MGM Grand Casino in Las Vegas. And casinos in Vegas, they don't f*** around with their money. So they report him to police, and the state of Nevada issues a warrant for his arrest. And eventually, police find him in Beverly Hills, and bam, they arrest him. And I don't have a mugshot, but here's what he looks like in real life. And he does pay the casino back, and those charges are dropped, but he still has a bunch of lawsuits against him. And to make it worse, around this same time, his wife Samantha, she's sort of an Instagram influencer herself, here's her page, well, they separate, and they start the process of divorce, and about a month after that, she files a domestic abuse restraining order against him, claiming that he had been assaulting her as well as stalking her. And this investigation and all the lawsuits against him are still ongoing, so I'll keep you updated.
Bro really sold his life like that, man. That's tough. Get on that video. Yo, chat, before the video, man, hit that like and subscribe button, bro. Let's get 5 likes on the videos. We out.
So one night, this guy, he's out, and he's driving a bit recklessly. And police, they pull him over, and they see that not only was he driving like a turd, but he's also driving with a suspended license. So then, bam, they arrest him, and they throw him in jail. Now the guy, his name's Tanner, and I don't have a mugshot of Tanner, but here he is in real life, in jail. Now, he's not locked up for very long before he has a quick hearing to go to. So he's in the courtroom, in handcuffs, sitting next to a bunch of other alleged criminals, waiting in line for the judge to hear their case. And there he is here on the left. Now, here's where it gets good, though. Tanner happens to be sitting next to this guy. His name's Cody. And Cody, he's in court for theft charges, because I guess he stole some woman's purse or something, and he got busted. Regardless, neither of them have really major charges against them. It's not like they went out and committed murder or something. But while the two guys sit there, the judge, this guy, Judge Buzzard is sitting here. And he's setting the conditions of their release, meaning they're likely just about to be released. But Cody, I guess, this whole process just isn't fast enough for him. Like, he wants out of all this right now. And bro comes up with a brilliant plan to basically just make all this worse. He turns to Tanner, and I don't think they really know each other, but he turns to Tanner and he says, "I'm gonna run." And so Cody looks around and he sees his chance, and boom, he sprints for the exit. And as you can see, for some strange reason, Tanner is also like, "That's a great idea." And you can see in the courtroom footage, he runs too. So now these two turds are on the run, and pow, they make it out into the hallway, and Cody falls, and he leaves his prison crock behind, but he is able to get up, and they are out. Now, I mentioned Judge Buzzard is overseeing both their cases. Here's the thing about Judge Buzzard, though. I guess Buzzard, he ain't no punk, and he is not about to let these two clowns get away. So, as Tanner and Cody are running out, Buzzard literally stands up and rips off his judge's robe like he's f***ing Superman, and kaboom, he runs after them. And if you look at the footage, the two attorneys here, they're like shocked. They're like, "So should we call a recess, or?" But anyway, the chase is on, and Tanner and Cody, they actually make it to the stairwell and they sprint down the flight of stairs. Now, Judge Buzzard, he's still determined to get them, and he is right behind them. And boom, he busts through the door. And now he's in the stairwell with them. But the two guys, they've now made it down to the second floor. But they aren't fast enough because Buzzard is closing in. But then, finally, they make it to the bottom floor. And Tanner actually makes it first. And he gets out the door and he keeps running. But then Cody makes it to the bottom floor. But not before Judge Buzzard grabs his ass as he's trying to run out the door. And pow, he tackles him just outside the building. Moments later, a couple of deputies catch up, like, oh, hey, did you need our help? And so, bam, well, I guess they can't really arrest him because he's already under arrest, so they just escort Cody back to his cell, where I'm sure he sits there all ashamed that his escape plan didn't work. But there's still Tanner, who's still running, still in handcuffs, and he's now about 4 blocks away. But then, suddenly, Tanner does something he should have done a long time ago. His brain starts firing on all cylinders, and he actually starts thinking about the consequences of what he's doing. Like, does he really want to break out of jail like this? Does he really want to go on the run and be an outlaw? So, with all these thoughts going on, in that moment, he thinks hard about these things, and he's suddenly like, nah, this isn't worth it. And he just stops. And pretty quickly, police catch up to him, and I like to imagine they tackled him and roughed him up a little bit, but I honestly don't know if that happened. Regardless, bam, they grab him and they take him back to his cell. Here's the thing, though. To police and to Judge Buzzard, it doesn't really matter that Tanner stopped on his own. All that matters is that he was in the middle of a court proceeding and he decided to make a run for it like an absolute turd. So for the both of them, they went from basically misdemeanor charges, driving without a license or whatever, to being charged with second-degree escape, which is a felony. So now they're both felons. Now, you might be asking, why did they suddenly run when they're likely just about to be released anyway? Well, according to Tanner,
it was just a split-second decision. I don't even know why I did it. Like, I would be out of here if I wouldn't have ran.
So he doesn't even know why he did it. While Cody actually has a better explanation.
I didn't try to escape to get out. I tried to escape to get well, and I tried to do what I could do to get my drug addiction.
So anyway, eventually they go back to court, and Tanner is sentenced to a full year, while Cody is actually sentenced to 3 years. Wow, short video today, but I don't know, it's a fun story.
Ain't that bad. Alright, man, y'all like and subscribe, man. Share all that video, man. Yo, Chad, before the videos, we out. Yo, what's good, Chad? We got Ray William Johnson, entitled Woman Gets a Reality. I don't know. A reality check.
So this woman, let's call her Diamond, because she's a real gem. And one day, Diamond is at the dentist's office. I think it's for a consultation kind of thing. I'm not really sure. But she's about to start some major shit. Because allegedly, while she's there, she learned she needs to get some work done. So, after the appointment, she asks the receptionist, actually, can I get documentation of everything that was done today? And this turns into a bit of an argument, because the staff is like, yeah, that'll take time to compile together, but we'll mail it to you. But Diamond apparently wants her documentation now. And she makes a huge deal out of this, and it turns into a fight. And eventually, I guess the dentist and her staff, they're fed up with her, and they call the police to come mediate.
All right, what's going on? There is nothing here. All I asked was just for my documentation about what happened here and what went on, and they refused to give me my paperwork, and that's all I asked.
And so the dentist is there, and then she explains her side.
I said she just left the chair. I was unable to have documentation until I compile it. I asked her if she would like to come back for it, then she can come back for it.
So then police, they explain all this to Diamond in simple terms so that she understands.
They do not have the documents ready for you right now, and that's the end of it.
But then Diamond won't give them her address so that they can mail her the documentation she wants so badly.
Because they don't have an address or a place to send it to.
She does need to write it.
Why? They already told me I have to leave. I have to leave the premises right now.
If you want them sent to you, then give them the address.
It's very simple.
And so she doesn't give them her address, but whatever. She can come back and get the documentation later. No big deal, problem solved, right? No, because Diamond isn't gonna let this go. She wants to argue with police and make things difficult for everyone.
Just sit down and we'll get your documents here in a minute.
I'll go for another walk again and wait.
Okay, no, don't go for a walk. Just stay here. I don't need you walking around everywhere. I need to find where you're at so we can just give you the documents. I'm sure it'll be just another minute.
I can come back when the documents are done and I can go for a walk until then. I don't understand why it's a problem for me to just step outside and go for a walk.
Okay, can you just step outside and just wait there? Because once they get the documents, we can just hand it to you. I can't be here all day while you're going on a walk.
You don't have to be here all day. I can come back in a few minutes when the paperwork is done. I don't understand why that's a problem.
Okay. Can you just stay here for 1 minute and then we'll get you your documents, okay?
I don't understand why.
Okay, you're making a bigger issue than it needs to be.
I'm not trying to make an issue. I'm not trying to make a problem. Why can't I go for a walk until this is done?
So finally, Dentist agrees to stop everything and compile the documentation and print it out and give it to her right there so that she'll be done with this unnecessary conflict. Then this drama will be over.
Karen,
but Diamond keeps arguing with the officer about whether or not she's going to leave. Like she wants to leave and the officer's like, but don't you want your documentation? But Diamond just wants to be difficult. Like whatever is going to make the situation harder for everyone, that's what Diamond wants to do. So eventually officers had enough and she's like, please just come sit down. And telling Diamond to sit down really pisses her off.
I'm not a dog. I'm not sitting down like I'm a dog. I'm not a dog.
Stay right there. You're not moving anywhere. You're waiting for your documents. Unless you want to leave, then you're going to be trespassed and you'll be arrested at your return.
I want my paperwork.
Come sit down. You're not blocking the doorway.
Not a dog.
Get off the phone.
No, I'm calling my mom.
Get off the phone.
You can't tell me I can't call my mom.
All right, she is trespassed. They're getting her documents right now.
I'm waiting.
She wants to be argumentative with me. I told her to sit down. She wants to call her mom and stay in the doorway.
They're refusing.
Go outside.
They refuse to give me my.
Let's go outside.
No, I'm not. They told me to wait 2 minutes for my paperwork. I'm waiting for my paperwork. I'm opening. The door's open, wide open.
Go outside.
Now remember, like 3 minutes ago, Diamond wanted to leave to go on a walk. But now she refuses to leave. And this is where things start to get bad.
All right, that's why am I getting arrested? What? Why am I getting arrested? Okay, I'll get out.
Go outside.
I just wanted my paperwork. Why is that a problem?
Get up and go outside because you're not listening. Get up and go outside. This is a business.
Okay, and that's fine. Mom.
Get up and get outside now.
Okay, if you do not get up right now, you're going to jail.
That's it.
Just go. No, I'm going outside. I'm going outside.
No,
I'm outside.
I'm not playing games with you.
I'm outside. I'm not playing any games. I'm not playing any games. I'm outside.
Now, this arrest is a little too violent for me to show you on this platform, but I can show you screenshots of it. Here's one, and here's another, and here's another. And then they perp walk her to the police car, and she fights them the whole way.
We're gonna bring all your stuff now. Knock it off.
I need my ID. I need my wallet. No, I need my ID. I need my wallet.
You're gonna get everything. Calm down.
No, I need my ID. I need my wallet. It's all over.
You'll get everything. Calm down. This is ridiculous.
I just wanted my documentation.
Then you would have got it. You listen.
I did.
Let's go. Stand up and get in the car.
I know. I'm not getting arrested for this.
Yes, you are. Get in the car.
Why am I getting arrested?
Because now you're getting arrested for refusing to move.
And of course, she still doesn't understand what she did wrong.
I just wanted my paperwork. Why? Why is that such a problem?
Calm down, you're getting tased.
Can I please just get my paperwork and leave?
No.
Why? I just wanted to go with my mom. Why?
Now, here's the funny thing. If she had just waited 5 more minutes, all of this could have been avoided. Because at that moment, the dentist finally comes out and she has her paperwork.
This is her paperwork. I never want to see the lady again. I don't know what I need to do for that trespassing or whatever. I've never in my life seen something that crazy. But I guess that's normal for you guys.
Meanwhile, back in the car, Diamond still doesn't comprehend what's happening.
Hello? What? Am I being arrested?
Yes.
For what?
For trespassing after I told you how to leave.
So, not surprisingly at all, Diamond has apparently been through this before.
Please.
Whoa.
I don't want to get arrested. I don't want to go back to jail. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to jail. Please don't make me go back to jail. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Please. Please, please. Wait, where's my backpack? I need my backpack. I need my mom. No.
But unfortunately for her, her crying and screaming isn't persuading anyone.
What do you mean, Mom? Mom! Mom, please! Please, Mom! Mom! Mom, no!
open that door, you're getting tased.
But then she says the most cryptic shit I've ever heard anyone say.
You're all gonna burn. Just wait.
What?
Hell is opening up soon. Have fun. And good luck. I wish you all the best. Get me out of here! Satina, you Satan, you demon! No!
And when that doesn't work, she, sings to herself?
Isn't she
Then I said she was on drugs, bro. This is fit.
Isn't she wonderful?
Anyway, so bam, they throw her in jail, and she's charged with trespassing and resisting violence, and from what I read, she takes a plea deal and spends around 5 days in jail. Not a big deal, but also not a big crime, just kind of fun to watch and gawk at. Anyway, shout out to Florida. And a huge shout out to Leonardo.
W promo. Alright, man, that was an interesting video. Like and subscribe, bro. I'll see y'all in the next one, bro. Yo, chat, before the video, we out. Yo, what's good, chat? We got Ray William Johnson. She tricked her boyfriend into murder. All right, y'all boys. Let's go.
This is Nate. And Nate has a problem. The Mexican cartel is trying to unalive him, and he doesn't know why.
What?
So here's how this all started. One day, Nate's at work. He works security for an engineering company. And he meets this woman, who we'll call Z. And Nate thinks Z is fine. And so they start flirting, and soon they start hooking up outside of work and secretly meeting at hotels to smash. Here's the thing about Nate, though. Bro already has a girlfriend. His girlfriend is this woman, Ermelinda. And Nate and Ermelinda have been together for years. And now here's the thing about Z. Z is also in a relationship. She's actually married with 2 kids. And I don't know exactly how Ermelinda finds out, but eventually she discovers that Nate's been cheating on her with this woman at work, Z. And she is pissed. But for some reason, she doesn't want to dump his cheating ass. I mean, I guess that would be way too easy and reasonable. Yeah. Instead, Ermelinda comes up with one of the wildest plans I've ever heard of to get rid of Z for good.
Wait.
So first she gets online.
Why she trying to get rid of the girl and not her boyfriend, though? Why she mad at the girl, though?
She makes a bunch of fake social media profiles, and she uses these fake profiles and secretly starts messaging Nate. And under these aliases, she tells him he's being targeted by the Mexican cartel and the Bulgarian cartel. And these cartels seem to know a lot about him. They know his name, a lot of his personal information, where he lives. And so Nate is like, what the fuck? He doesn't know how he got mixed into some real cartel shit. But after receiving tons of threats and messages from them, he starts to take all of this very seriously. And he's anxious as hell. And of course, he has no idea that it's really Ermelinda behind this whole thing. Now, despite the fact that he's anxious and believes the cartel is after him, he keeps low-key smashing with Z on the side. So Ermelinda's weird plan to scare him isn't actually working because he's still cheating. So after nearly a year of this, Ermelinda has to try something a little different. And so using one of her fake online aliases, she contacts Nate. And she tells him not only are these cartels after him, but that Z is actually a spy working for the cartel. And that Z plans to unalive him. Now, at this point, Ermelinda is contacting Nate using the fake name Turtle. So Ermelinda, as fake Turtle, tells Nate that the only way to keep Z from unaliving him is to unalive her first. And Nate hears this plan and he's like, alright. And so Nate and his new online friend, Fake Turtle, they research the layout of Z's house, because their plan is to break into her house, unalive her, and make it all look like a robbery gone wrong. Now here's where it gets a little confusing.
Yeah, 'cause
After a
I'm very
couple of
confused,
days
buddy.
of planning out this murder, I guess Nate goes to Ermelinda and he tells her everything. That he's somehow mixed up with the cartel and that they're after him and that he has to unalive this woman Z so that Z won't unalive him first. And Ermelinda's like, oh my god, WTF, knowing damn good and well she's secretly fake Turtle and that she secretly fabricated this whole cartel story so that he would stop cheating on her. Regardless, Ermelinda tells him that she will help him carry out this
People
murder.
will do anything but leave, man. Anything but leave.
Around 3 a.m. that morning, Nate gets his pew-pew, and he and Ermelinda get into the car and she drives him over to Z's house. So they get there and she waits there in the car while he sneaks up to the house and he enters through the unlocked back door. Now, I guess Nate must have made some noise while doing this because pretty quickly Z's husband wakes up. Because remember, Z's married with 2 kids. So husband wakes up and he comes out to see what's going on, and suddenly, blam, blam, Nate unalives him right there.
Bro.
And I guess Z hears these shots go off and she panics and she locks herself and her kids inside the bedroom. Oh, but this doesn't stop Nate. He goes to the bedroom, raises his pew-pew, and blam, 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 he fires right through the door, more than a dozen times. And unfortunately, this unalives them all. And to make it worse, for some reason, he then takes the pew-pew and blam, blam, he unalives their 2 dogs.
No! Are you serious, dude? Oh my god, bro. People be so weird. Like, you just killed a whole family, then you killed their dogs, dude. It gets to a point, bro.
Then he messes up all their stuff, I guess to make it look like a robbery, and then he leaves, and he and Ermelinda go home. So the next day, Z's husband doesn't show up for work, and people notice, and they call the police to go and do a welfare check. So that night, police go to the house for a welfare check, and they're looking through the windows, and they see the dogs.
Oh god. Dogs are dead. 2 dead dogs. I need more units here.
And then, of course, they go inside and they find the rest of the family. And so, bam, police start investigating and they search Z's phone and they find a ton of messages between her and Nate, and almost immediately they figure out that these 2 were secretly smashing. The next day, police show up to Nate's work to question him, and they ask him to hand over his phone, and he's like, how about I bring you my phone later?
How about this? How about I come see you guys later today after work or something like that? Because I got other that I don't necessarily want you to be like, looking at, you know what I'm saying?
And of course, he denies being involved in any of this.
I gotta ask, did you have anything to do with this?
But at the same time,
it made me so mad, bro. Oh my gosh.
Police go and they talk to Ermelinda, and they get her in the police car and they question her. And she plays completely dumb, and she acts like she's just finding out that Nate was cheating on her.
You didn't know what?
That he was having an affair.
Okay. When did you find out? Right now?
But police, they're not buying it. They know something's not right.
Did you go anywhere Saturday night then?
No, I was home. Well, it wasn't night. It was afternoon. No, I did not. I was here.
Are you telling me the truth?
You don't even sound right. You sound like you're lying.
100%.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be covering for Nate at all?
No, he was here.
And so Nate and Ermelinda, they wait while police continue investigating them. But they know they're screwed and that they'll eventually be in prison for the crime they committed. So they're like, "Forget, let's skip town." And they flee and they drive from Illinois all the way down to Catoosa, Oklahoma. Meanwhile, police, they launch a nationwide manhunt looking for them. And pretty quickly, they're spotted shopping at a Walmart in Catoosa. And by the time...
Ooh.
When they leave the store, police are on their way to confront them. But
weird,
Nate
bro.
and Ermelinda, they see them, and boom, they jump into their car and they speed away, and police chase after them. And so they pull out onto the highway, and this high-speed chase goes on for a while, but then Nate loses control of the car, and kaboom,
Good.
he crashes
Nice.
into a
Nice.
median. And police pull up,
Love
and
that.
they've got him surrounded.
Car's on fire!
Hope it blow up too. Just a minute.
The car!
And if you zoom in, you can actually see his SUV here crashed up against the median. But Nate isn't about to give up so easily. He knows he's caught, and he isn't sure what to do. So he does the only thing he can think of. He turns to Ermelinda, he points his pew-pew at her, and blam, he unalives her. Then he turns it on himself, and blam, he unalives himself too. And at the end of it all, police investigate, and they discover that Ermelinda was behind the whole fake cartel murder plot. But from what they found, it looks like poor Nate, he never figured it out. He actually died believing that the cartel was after him. It's wild.
That was crazy. I ain't gonna lie. RP to the good family that died, bro. But Nate and Ermelinda, we smoking that. Smoking that spliff, nigga. Fuck you. Alright, y'all boys, like and subscribe to y'all this video. Yo, chat, before the video, yo, we out. Yo, it's good, chat. Happy New Year's to all of y'all, man. And 2025, it's my year, I promise. I'm gonna make it. We got Ray William Johnson, the worst guy on TikTok is.
So this turd, he's trying to get internet famous by poisoning a bunch of people? Now the guy, he goes by the name Wolfie, and he's 27, and Wolfie apparently doesn't have a lot going on in his life, and one day, I guess, he decides, I'm gonna be internet famous. So, how does he plan to get internet famous? Well, he's not gonna do TikTok dances, and he's certainly not gonna live stream himself playing Elden Ring. No, he's gonna go the Johnny Somali route. He's gonna make what we'll call comedy for the unemployed. AKA, he's gonna film himself harassing people.
Right.
And that is exactly what he does. He films himself doing all kinds of awful stunts, like going into a restaurant and slapping some girl's food onto the floor and then running away. Yeah, he's that kind of influencer. And for some reason, people like to watch this junk, so his videos like this perform really well. Not only that, he also gets into doing stunts that are actually pretty dangerous, like this one where he films himself carrying a bag of ice into what looks like a Jack-in-the-Box. And Wolfie just walks back into the kitchen, and with all the employees watching, he suddenly just dumps the bag of ice into the deep fryer.
That's awesome.
Which I'm not gonna show you the whole thing because I don't want my video getting flagged for dangerous acts, but he dumps the ice into the deep fryer. Now, ice being dumped into a deep fryer may not seem like a big deal, but when you do that, when you throw ice into a deep fryer, it creates a sudden reaction that causes hot oil to bubble over, and then the oil gets everywhere and it can easily cause a fire. Not to mention that this older gentleman here is probably gonna have to spend the rest of the night cleaning that mess up. But whatever, Wolfie doesn't seem to care, because he just keeps posting more and more of these stunts, and he gets more and more followers, and a lot of his videos start blowing up, and some of them get millions of views. Like this
Bro, this why I'm glad they're banning TikTok, bro. All these brain daddians.
one where he puts a mask on at night and pretends to bum rush an unsuspecting bystander.
What?
And it's not just these select videos that I'm showing you. Nearly every video he does is just him being a turd to random people. Like here he films himself tossing a cake over a mall balcony.
I saw that one too.
And of course, when this big guy gets mad and he gets up to go after him, Wolfie runs away because why would he face the consequences of his actions? And here he is at some kind of bar knocking down someone's Jenga game. And if you slow down the footage, you can see the pieces falling here. And here he films himself putting a bungee cord around the front doors of a Goodwill store with a bunch of people inside it.
No. You guys are locked in there forever.
And here he
sneaks funny, dude.
Into the back of a fast food restaurant and he throws a watermelon into the deep fryer.
Saw this one too.
And here it looks like he goes to a local overpass and sprays some pedestrians with a fire extinguisher. And one of the worst things he does, although not the worst thing he does in my opinion, is that he films this older guy at the laundromat and he waits for the guy to walk away. Then he goes up to the guy's machine and he throws raw bacon and some eggs into the dryer with the guy's clothes.
Not even boot gang was this bad. When he was boot gang, a lot of gangs, he was just running from barbershops and shit. Like, that's illegal, but like, I feel like that's way less worse.
Which is not just unnecessarily mean, it's also really sad. Old man didn't deserve any of that. He's just trying to wash his khakis for work or whatever. But old Wolfie, he doesn't seem to care. Because at some point, he starts making decent money from this. He claims he's making anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000 a month doing this. I mean, that's a pretty good living for being an asshole a few days a week. So bro is getting paid, his videos are doing well, and his social media is blowing up. And there just seems to be no real repercussions for him being a jerk to people for just a little bit of internet fame. Until... Now at this point in the story, Wolfie has made all kinds of videos, messing with strangers, harassing fast food workers, and I'm only showing you some of them because, like, you know, you get it, he sucks. But one night, Wolfie gets an idea that's going to change all of that. He comes up with this plan to go into a local Walmart and film himself spraying some of the food with bug spray. And that's exactly what he does. He goes into the store and he starts filming and he picks up a can of bug spray and he starts spraying it on the produce. Now, bug spray is poison, and this is considered a dangerous act, and I'm tired of my videos getting removed, so again, I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but I will show you some screenshots. So here he sprays the bananas, he sprays the yams, he sprays the lemons, he sprays the apples, the tomatoes, and the worst for me is when he goes over to the prepared foods and he sprays some rotisserie chickens. And then, of course, he just leaves, and I guess he goes home and he posts the video. And immediately, people who see it are pissed off. From what I understand, even his own audience is like, what the f***, bro? People eat that. And so Wolfie, I guess he tries to cover his ass, and so he goes back into the Walmart and he puts everything he sprayed into a shopping cart, and he claims that he threw it all away. I mean, you could see it here in the caption in the video. He says, threw them all away. Which, I don't know if he really did buy all that food and throw it away, but I kind of don't care. I don't think that necessarily makes the situation better. Like, he sprayed the entire area with basically a poison. And now Walmart employees need to sanitize that whole area so that future food they put there doesn't get bug spray on it. Anyway, then, I guess, still trying to cover his ass, he allegedly tries to delete that video, but unfortunately for him, it's too late. People have already copied it and saved it, and those copies start blowing the f up. And this story starts spreading, and it makes...
Charles Smith faces, like, bro, your name is Charles Smith, bro, first of all. Faces felony poison charge after spraying bug killer on supermarket.
The news, and people see it and they're disgusted, and rightfully so. So they start reporting him to the local police. And through his social media, pretty quickly, police figure out who he is. And they reach out to him and he ends up turning himself in, and so bam, here's his mugshot. And also, here's a little footage of him in court if you want to see that. And he's charged with introducing poison, which is a felony. He's also charged with criminal damage, endangerment, and theft. And by the way, it was so nice of him to document all the evidence prosecution is going to use against him later in court. Like, I'm sure they appreciate him getting it all on video for them, including pointing the camera at his own face every time. Now, separately from all that, he's also in trouble for burglarizing this local donut shop at some point. Bro is allergic to being a decent person. Now, I'm gonna say something you're not gonna wanna hear, but we've been seeing videos like this on the internet for over a decade now, maybe longer, where an influencer will build up this whole business model of harassing strangers in public, and we've seen them be successful at it. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, but I don't think it's going away. Like, Wolfie, he might go away, and Johnny Somali, he might go away, but terrible internet pranksters as a whole, I don't see an end to it. Like, we're gonna be like 70 years old, like, oh, these damn internet pranksters, get off my lawn. So even if we get rid of Wolfie, you know a copycat will pop up sometime next month. Womp womp. But there is some good news though. I can no longer find his TikTok account, so I assume TikTok did the right thing and they banned him once this story blew up. But as of right now, his Instagram account is still up. Hopefully Meta does the right thing and bans him too, but you know, no one expects much out of Meta. Also, I'm sorry, but bro is 27 years old, which 27 is not old, but it's way too old to be an internet prankster troll. Bro is not a troll. He's just a bum. Anyway, I'm not trying to be rude. I just hope he learns something from all this while he sits in jail. Because, like, this is not cool.
Give him life in prison. Make me the president. I'll give him life. Throw away the fucking key. Fuck that nigga. Where the bird? Alright, man. Happy New Year's, man. Safety.